welcome to another edition of Pensacola Wants to Know. We are featuring today Unsung Heroes, and I have with me today two individuals that you probably don't know a lot about, but when the show finishes, you're going to know something about these gentlemen because what they've done is significant to everybody here in Pensacola, and they are the last two members of the McMillan 10. And you ask yourself, what is the McMillan 10? Well, stay tuned. We are definitely going to tell you all about the McMillan 10, and then you're going to scratch and say, oh, yeah. Let me introduce my first guest. One of the first of the guests here is Mr. Sam Horton. Sam is originally one of the McMillan 10. Sam been in this town for a long time, retired from the neighborhood station. And along with him, I have Mr. Clifford Stokes. Clifford is also a long-time Pensacolian, and he's also retired from NAS Pensacola, and he's also a member of the McMillan 10. Okay. Now, you ask yourself, well, what is the McMillan 10? Some of you know, and some of you don't know. But if you're enjoying your privilege of voting today, these guys is significant in that on a local level. I can remember the days that we wasn't even represented in the local politics. These guys ensured that we was covered with that. If you ever heard of the McMillan versus, I can't remember the versus the state. What was it, Sam?
It was the county.
The McMillan versus the Escambia County and the city of Pensacola, right?
The county, the school board, and the city of Pensacola.
Okay. We was not proud to the 1980s, okay? We wasn't represented. They were having what they call at-large elections, okay? So we diluted the black vote. These individuals decided, well, enough is enough. And they got together and created what we now know as the McMillan 10, but they filed suit and won, and that gave us the right for district voting now, and that's why we ended up with folks like our current Lumen May, I believe Willie Jr. Who was the very first beneficiary? Willie Jr. was the very first beneficiary of it, okay? Then also folks down at the city as well, when they had all those, when at-large voting, we just couldn't win. So these individuals, these guys here, are responsible for that. And I want you to know that, and we want folks to understand the impact that they had during those times. And it wasn't easy doing that. Now let me just start from the very beginning. I got some other questions I need to ask you, but guys, either one of you can jump in and tell me what motivated. I know that you wasn't represented, but why did you jump into action? I understand now that Mr. McMillan, Henry McMillan, was the spearhead of it. Talk to us about that and how that went about.
Well, there's two things. One, in the city, we had one representative of Mr. Hollis Williams.
Right.
But he was elected through the at-large system, and we felt like we should have more representation on the city council, and that's why we thought that the single member voting would be better.
Okay.
Better for us.
Well,
okay.
Let me interject this. Hollis Williams was elected, but Hollis Williams, like I think Dr. Spence, who was on the school board, first they was appointed, and this was a sense that if you had blessing from the white community, then you could get elected by the white community. Mm-hmm. But first they would select you. And so Hollis Williams filled a vacant position, and he was nominated by the city council, and the city council first put him on the city council. Therefore, even though he represented the black community and was a good councilman, mm-hmm. he first had to been approved by the blacks. The one that who ran by themselves, could not win.
Right.
So if they didn't bless you, you couldn't make it.
You couldn't make it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about these 10 individuals. 10 of you all got together, okay, and decided that you were going to do something about it. So, if you don't know who the McMillan 10 are, here's the names of them. Woodrow Cush. First, I think Dr. Henry McMillan was probably the spearhead of this. We're going to talk about him when I finish this, okay, and how it all came about. Dr. Henry McMillan, William Maxwell, Elmer Jenkins, Robert Crane, Henry Burroughs, Clifford Stokes, Bradley Seabrook, Charles Scott, Sam Horton, and Woodrow Crucian. Now, I was questioning, that's the Charles Scott on NS? Okay.
He was one too.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking Charles lived he did live up in the north part of the county, right?
And that we had to be divided into two areas.
Mm-hmm.
One was county and the other was city. And him and Mr. Seabrook both lived in the north end of the county, but they were county representatives.
Right.
And then the other ones were city. Like myself, I was in the city.
Okay.
But Clifford was county.
Okay.
Mm.
So, how did it all get started, fellas?
Well, Mr. McMillan had some cohorts in Mobile. Mobile suit was won first.
Mm-hmm.
He got with them, discussed our issues that we had over here in Escambia County, got with their lawyers that was successful in Mobile. And once he got with the lawyers, then he came over here and sought out individuals that would take part in the suit, which was us and the other 9 people that took part in the suit. So Mr. McMillan really spearheaded everything. He brought the lawyer to us, explained the situation we had in Pensacola, and the lawyer agreed to represent us under his guidance.
Okay, now for folks like me that don't know much about Mr. Henry McMillan, can y'all tell me who was Mr. Henry McMillan?
Well, go ahead.
He was big in education here,
Mm-hmm.
principal of a school, and that was where he came from, was education and being in the school system.
Okay, very good, very good. So now, how did you guys came to be involved with it?
Somebody told me that I was going to be in the suit, and I said yes.
Well, we had Mr. McMillan spearheaded several meetings, and they asked for volunteers. What the reason we joined, and we knew it was a need for the suit, but we knew also that everybody couldn't take a chance on losing their jobs. We were civil servants, and some of the people was educators or private contractors who owned their own business. The 10 people stood a better chance of keeping their livelihood. So we volunteered to take part in the suit because we believed in what was taking place.
Okay, and also you were telling me earlier, because you had stable jobs, you had government jobs,
Yes.
that you felt a little more secure because people's jobs were threatened
Yes.
by that,
Yes.
and so forth. Wow.
We got out of the local system,
Mm-hmm.
and being federal employees, they didn't have the pull to get us fired.
Right. Wow. Okay. Wow. So now, what was it like when the news broke that the suit was filed?
I don't remember anything that much about it when it was first filed.
Mm-hmm.
People probably didn't think it was going any place, and it just took time for the momentum to build, and the case, when it finally got to the court system, it got some more, press, and then as it went through the system and it was upheld, then it became a really big deal.
Did you all receive any kind of pressure from it, a blowback as a result, because I'm sure these 10 names were on blast, right? So, did you suffer any backlash as a result of it?
I don't think, like I said, we were civil servants. Maybe we didn't pick up a promotion that we thought we should get. But as far as threatening your job in the civil service realm, you really cut your own weight as far as staying on the job. If you performed the job, you had the job. So
Okay.
as far as we were concerned, that's why we picked people who jobs was not at jeopardy.
Right. Okay. So, how many did you start off with? I know you ended up with 10. How many did you start off with?
10.
10.
Start off with 10.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all 10.
See, I would point out to you that Seabrook, Burrell, Maxwell, Clifford, and myself were all federal employees.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have that pressure.
Okay. Well, very good. So, and I guess how long did it take y'all to actually get it going forward? I know you had several meetings. I'm assuming you met in churches or whatever, however you met and so forth. So how long did it actually take you to actually file the suit? And then we're going to talk about the suit itself. What happened during that process after you filed the suit?
Well, I think it took us really about a year to get everything going. We did a lot of surveying and doing the road work because we didn't have the NAACP legal fund until we was down in the suit, maybe 2 years in the suit, I think it was. Mr. McMillan really funded part of the suit. We went to the community and raised some funds through the community, but the bulk of the front money really came from Mr. McMillan.
Okay.
He funded it until we got, I think, like I said, a couple of years in, maybe 2.5 years before the NAACP Legal Defense Fund kicked in to help pay the attorney fee until we got a court decision at the end where the county and the city had to pay the legal fees.
Okay. So the 10 members also helped put it to bill as well?
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
not nowhere near the McMillan. Let me just put it where it is.
Okay.
The McMillans fronted the money. We were young then. Sam and I certainly was young. Maxwell, we was the young ones of the group. That's why I guess the two of us are still here. But we was the young ones of the group. So our finances wasn't as strong
Yeah.
as Mr. McMillan. But even with the older guys, Mr. McMillan really funded until the little donation, no, I won't say little, the donation we got from the community.
Yeah.
But the bulk of the money came from Mr. McMillan until the NAACP Legal Defense Fund took over and back paid him, but he fronted it. He fronted most of it.
And we did some of the grunt work.
Yes.
We rode around and documented streets that were not paved and the conditions of some of the housing in the black areas versus the white areas in the city and the county.
Who was your legal team?
Name was Menifee
Blackshear.
and Blackshear.
Okay. Yeah, I remember those names. Menifee and Blackshear. Okay.
Yeah, they was the head attorneys.
All right. Now, when you filed it in federal district court, who was the judge at that time? Was it
Winston Arnold.
what Judge Winston Arnold? Okay.
Mhm.
So did you prevail when you
Oh yeah.
at the first? How long did it take from the time that you initially filed it until you got Judge Arnold's initial decision?
I think it took him, once we got into court, I think it took him about 6 months to write his decision to that the city and the county and the school board was discriminating. So, and he was very strong, very definitely. He wrote out exactly what we thought he would write out.
No nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Judge Winston Arnold. He was a no-nonsense person.
Yeah, strong.
Now I know that the opposition didn't take it lightly. Did they appeal it? I'm assuming they did.
Well, the school board, the city of Pensacola gave in.
Okay.
They pulled out. They went to 7 districts, 2 or 3 at large. I can't remember.
Three at large
And 7 districts.
single member district.
Yeah. So they gave up after the first ruling. They pull out.
Okay.
The school board and certainly the county mainly.
Both of them stayed together.
Yeah, they went all the way.
Okay. So I understand though, but it went up to the Court of Appeals, did it not?
Went all the way to the Supreme
Supreme
Court.
Court. Okay. Well, let's walk through that process then. Okay. So apparently they appealed the decision,
Yes.
and why?
Well, they felt that they was right, and you know basically that's really what it is. They felt that single member district was not right for the county and the school board.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they held their hand. They once the Court of Appeal disagreed with it, they pushed it to the Supreme Court.
Okay. So the Court of Appeal
Agreed with
upheld Winston Arnold's decision.
Yes.
Okay. And then, how long did the whole? Then it went to the Supreme Court, and it
No, you go to
Now,
Court of Appeals.
Court of
first.
Appeal. I'm sorry. Okay,
Mhm.
go ahead. You tell the process because you lived it.
Well, once we won in district court, then they would appeal,
All right.
and that appeal was upheld. What the Judge Winston Arnold wrote, they upheld that, and so the next step is the Supreme Court,
Mhm.
and so they appealed it to the Supreme Court, and it went had a hearing. Clifford attended that hearing, and they upheld us in the end. So
Okay.
we won all the way through.
Now I understood there was a controversy about that when they went up there. They said, well, they came back about some decision about not having the. I know y'all filed it on the grounds of the First Amendment, 13, 14, 15 Amendment, so forth like that. But I read something about the issue that something they didn't decide upon, and they sent it back down to the lower courts to decide on. But the bottom line is, you all prevailed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You remember
So-
what that was?
Now I don't remember exactly
Yeah.
what that was, but
So from the time that you filed it to the time that it went into effect, how long was it?
oh God, it's been so long.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's been so long that I really don't recall how long it took. I like we said, the city was the first one to give in, and we had to go back for a reading and agree to what the city put forward. The city put forward the 7-3 when we was asking for single member districts, and after some discussion, we agreed that was acceptable. So the city was out.
It basically revolved around money, because he would take more money for us to appeal it.
Mm-hmm.
When in the county suit, when the county does the appeal, then they have to pay for, the lion's share of it.
Right. Yeah.
So we didn't have the money to try to fight it all the way through the Supreme Court. If we had, we more than likely would have won,
Mm-hmm.
because the Supreme Court held up the county, and we were basically identical in the court cases.
Do
But-
you? Go
But
ahead.
they were separated because the governmental entity of the county and the school
city.
board basically had the same election, same districts, same number of seats. But the city was different because it had 10 seats to be filled.
Right.
And that was one of the basic reasons why it had to be divided.
Okay. Now, I used to like to play this game in my life, and so I know who you are or where you were when. Do you remember where you were when you heard about the decision coming back? And what was your reaction?
Oh, we was elated. We felt we had a good chance. Certainly, Winston Arnold at the time was one of the better federal judges and one of the toughest federal judges. He was. If you was at that trial, and we did, we went to the trial every day. Took out work and went to that trial every day, and he was very firm. He He showed you he knew the law.
Mm-hmm.
So we was confident that once he ruled in our favor, that we would not have, an uphill fight. We had a fight, but we didn't feel that it was uphill. Once we won at the district level, we felt that the going all the way up would have been more in our favor than against us.
Okay. I got a couple questions that was passed on to me and I need to ask you guys. And one of what factors ultimately prompted the decision to pursue the lawsuit rather than just protest it, instead of just marching and going on?
We were not a protesting group.
So actually speak louder words.
Well, I mean, if you're going to change it,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be changed by law.
Yeah.
So we know that the legislator's not going to do it. The only path we had was the court. So getting out in the street and holding up a sign is not going to change anything.
Right.
You have to actually get in there and get to where the decisions will hold. So had to sue.
Okay. All right. The second question is, in 1971, Pensacola had a large black population and a general population than Tallahassee. So why do you think that the bigger city had more obstacles in the election process than Tallahassee?
Well, I think I can answer that.
Okay.
If you look at the makeup of Pensacola, Pensacola is a conservative city. We had UWF, which is basically a conservative college with a lot of local people attending UWF. Tallahassee has FAMU and Florida State, a very progressive school
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of students. Therefore, their chances of electing a black is far more greater than Pensacola. So they had no trouble electing a black, if possible, and they've elected several blacks since then.
Yeah.
And Pensacola, no way.
Yeah. Said many people filed lawsuits in hopes of winning and some hope to get their voice heard. So why were you part of the lawsuit?
Because I thought change would be the best course of action for the citizens, the black citizens, and even the white citizens of Pensacola.
Okay. You want to add to that?
Well, I agree with that. We have tried to get blacks elected in Escambia County for years after year. Even some blacks who was highly qualified than their opponents.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way we could get a black elected. So the only way we had to go was go into the court system and try to make a change that way.
Yeah. Okay. The third question is, why is political power and black representation for the black community still as important today as it was in 1972?
Well, political power is important to all communities. It's important to the white community, therefore it should be important to the black community. And I think it is important to the black community. Times have changed, but times haven't changed. You need political power to make change and to set your future. Young people, young black people, need to have a future set by not only the white in power, but the blacks in power. We need to set the tone for our young people, for they can have a future in this community.
Okay. All right. And the last question I was asked to ask is that given the current number of elected black officials in Escambia County, do you believe that the county has achieved its full potential for racial representation, or is there still more work to be done?
There's always work to be done. This change of dynamic. As you look at Pensacola, Pensacola has changed. The people, the structure of the people, the population is shifting. If you don't keep up with politics, if you don't help shape your future, then you're lost. We, as a black community, must help shape the community for our young people as well as our elderly people. We need to take part in politics because that's what set the goal and the future of people.
Okay, very well put. I'm glad that you guys did what you did. Okay, somebody has to blaze that trail, okay? And you guys, you was young, and you sometimes I say about myself, sometimes you're young and dumb, you're too stupid not to know what you're not doing, but I think you had the insight to know, because this was your future, and you wanted to make sure that your future is representative of your rights, and my hat's off to that group of people. We only got about 3 or 4 more minutes, gentlemen, about the McMillan 10. I want you to tell your audience, tell Pensacola, tell the world, basically, what you want us to know about the McMillan 10 that we hadn't talked about already.
Well, I think basically my feeling is that we are concerned citizens, and we need to keep black people involved. We got involved because we know that we had kids coming up and now grandkids coming up. Blacks need to be involved in the future of our young people. We need more blacks involved. That's why we was involved.
Right. Sam?
Well, you have to speak up for yourself. You have to not be afraid to go and ask for what you want and go demand things. I think that as a community, we're too hesitant to do that many times. So, but that's what the McMillan 10 did that was so important. We went to the courts and demanded a change. Too many times we have folks that want to talk on the street corner. It gets nothing done. Nobody hears you but your buddies. You need to go to your elected officials, not just the black ones, but the white ones. You have to tell them and demand what you want. And to me, we don't do enough of that.
Right. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Pensacola, I tell you what, if you didn't know about the McMillan 10, now that you do, that is certainly these are some unsung heroes right here. The last 2 surviving members of the McMillan 10, and we wanted to make sure that it gets documented for the world to see from now on. So out of the mouths of the folks that was definitely involved. And so thank you. I thank you for watching the show. And if you have any questions, just give us a call, and we're going to bring some other shows to you as well. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Sam Horton, Mr. Clifford Stokes, McMillan 10, this is Vernon Watson, signing off, and we'll see you on another edition of Pensacola Wants to Know. Thank you for watching.